Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to this wonderful meeting of Tigertales Toastmasters. And as per the Toastmaster International guidelines, if possible, please switch on your videos so that we can all see each other and have a wonderful meeting tonight. With that, I would like to welcome the Toastmaster for tonight, Destin. Over to you, Destin.
Thank you, Ajita. Yes, as you mentioned today, I'll be your Toastmaster and it's my first time, so don't be hard on me. So as usual, our meeting will consist of 3 sections. So the first section will
Yeah,
be
you've got new Minnie Mouse
pitches.
pull-ups. Yep, they're over there, Matt.
Some of our fellow Toastmasters have been cooking something interesting for us. And the second part of the meeting will be the table topics. This is where anybody, member or guest, can jump in and answer to the question that will be asked to them without no preparation. And the third part of the meeting will be the evaluation section. Evaluators have been assigned to each speaker and they'll be assessing the speaker's performance based on some criteria that they will tell us about later. The theme of the day is lose yourself. It is an idiom that means forgetting about everything else around you and be thoroughly absorbed or focused on something or someone. And I do hope that tonight we'll all lose ourselves into this meeting. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our 3 primary functionaries: the timer, the accounter, and the grammarian. So Madam Timer, Kelly, can you explain us the timing rules for tonight, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I get to have the privilege of being your timer tonight, and the speakers tonight each have 2 of them. So Gaurav and Preetham have 5 to 7 minutes, and Bhakti will have 8 to 10 minutes. So for Gaurav and Preetham at 5 minutes, I will show the green. At 6 minutes, I will show the yellow. And at 7 minutes, I will show, oops, this side, the red. And you have 30 seconds to wrap up. And then for Bhakti, at 8 minutes, I will show the green. And then at 9 minutes, I will show the yellow. And at 10 minutes, I will show the red. And you have 30 seconds to wrap up. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam Timer. Our second functionary is our accounter. Sarah, can you explain us what you're going to be looking out for today's meeting?
Absolutely, Destin. I will be looking for anything that takes away from the authority and confidence of your speech. Words like and, which we use fairly often, as well as double words or other sounds that are not meant to be communicated.
Thank you, Sarah. And finally, our last functionary is our grammarian, Mingshu. Mingshu, can you tell us what are you going to be looking out for today's meeting?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I'm the grammarian today. I will be looking for a good use of language and some bad use of language. Also, I would be looking who use the word of the day and who doesn't. The word of the day is relinquish, and it means voluntarily cease to keep or claim, give up. A usage example would be, he was forced to relinquish control of the company. Yeah, back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mr. Grammarian. Now I'd like to start with the first part of the meeting, the prepared speeches. And our first speaker is Gurav. Gurav will be evaluated by Sridhar. So Sridhar, can you tell us about Gurav's speech, please?
Good evening, everyone. So Gaurav is working on Pathway Presentation Mastery, and this is he's working on level 1 fourth project, and the project is researching and presenting. And his title of the speech is Screen Time. So I'm looking forward for your speech, Gaurav. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sridhar. I asked all the speakers, evaluators, and the same question, which is, what in your daily life makes you lose yourself? And Gurav's answer was, I would say study. It is not on a daily basis, but when I do, I completely lose myself. So Gurav's speech is in time. Gurav, the floor is yours.
How many of you know what exactly is screen time? Can I have a raise of hands? I came to know recently what screen time is 2 weeks ago when my friend Omkar came to me and said, "Hey Gaurav, what's the screen time of your phone?" So screen time is actually the time which we spent on a device. When I looked at my screen time of my phone, it said 9 hours a day. I was shocked and surprised at the same time. I'm like, out of 24 hours, I'm spending 9 hours just on the phone. I also have an iPad, a smartwatch, and the laptop. So, and when I read an article by Mediline Plus, they said increased screen time has medical issues such as anxiety, depression, and weight issues. So, today's topic, I will be focusing on three main parts. First, effects of increased screen time. Second, solutions, existing solutions to address them. And third, which is the most important, I call it like the key findings. It is by me. So to start off, I started researching what research about the screen time. So I went on a website, and over there I saw an article by MIT said that they categorized how many people in US have gadgets. Over the statistics reported was 73 people were having mobile phones, 56 used laptops as well as desktops, and 56 the remaining devices. I was I looking I then focused on the most then I focused my attention on the most used app. So there was a study by a SACPI group in 2020. They listed 21 apps most frequently used. Over there, I saw Facebook, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Instagram, and some utility apps in the end of the list. I also checked my phone and checked whether that apps are matching to my device as well. And they matched. I was then thinking why people are using so many messaging apps, because I looked at myself. I'm like, okay, I talk to Chitra on Instagram. I talk to her via Gmail. I talk to her via normal message. Why I'm using so many apps? There are devices all around me. So my next thing was I should find a solution. I went and searched for a solution. There were studies which were there to decrease the screen time. I also read few of the articles by, you can say by Caroline on Bessel website. It stated, you should keep your phone away, delete the apps, create mobile free zones in your apartment. I also tried this, but it didn't work. I was like, why it is not working with me? Then I identified that it was a drastic shift in my routine. So I came up with a unique solution. I uninstalled the apps on my iPad and my mobile phone. I just use my laptop for surfing those apps just for 15 minutes. That helped me to decrease my screen time. And I can proudly say that my screen time dropped from 9 hours a day to 3 hours a day. So, but the MIT study said that the ideal time is 2 hours. I have to still touch that mark. I'm lazy about it, but I'll definitely go at my own pace. Now, you might be thinking, oh, good, you are saving 6 hours a day. What you do in that 6 hours? So, I read books. I socialize with my friend. I plan to exercise. I repeat, I plan to exercise. I never exercise. And when I do plan to exercise, it is like nah, next day. But I know I will somehow get to that track later. There is also great saying by Chris Belly that people are forgetting what boredom is. So now, recently I experienced boredom. I kept all my gadgets aside. I was lying on my bed and staring at the ceiling for 40 minutes, thinking, how should I end my Toastmaster speech? My roommate came in the room and he also started staring at the ceiling with me. He thought there is something up. But I'm like, no, I'm just I'm bored. I'm just not touching all the gadgets. I'm just spending my boredom time over here. So this is how I'm planning and investing my time. Of course, if I'm looking at myself, I am still, you can say fat. I'm depressed and I have anxiety issues. It might be because of my PhD. I think so. But gradually, the results will show up. I think that the results are lazy like me. They will come in the end. And I encourage you guys to also follow the same because I truly believe in the quote by Lucy. Those who wander, not all those who wander get lost.
Thank you, Gaurav. I will ask our timer to give us 1 minute to give our feedback to Gaurav. Okay, it's 1 minute. Our second speaker is gonna be Pritam. And evaluating Pritam is Chitra. Chitra, can you tell us, please, what are you gonna look for in Pritam's speech?
Sure, Dustin. Preetham is working on a speech profile project. The purpose of this project is to use vocal variety to enhance his speech. And today I'll be looking on vocal variety and how effectively it can be improved. Good luck, Preetham.
Thank you, Chitra. I asked Pritam the same question. And he said, I lose myself in my creations. I found that very inspiring. Pritam's speech is how to give a TEDx talk that will win hearts. How to give a TEDx talk that will win hearts, Pritam.
Okay, can everyone hear me? All right. With that initial first question, I'll start my speech. A few months ago, I got a call from someone who contacted me on LinkedIn about my TEDx talk that was on urine therapy. So I asked him, why do you want to know about urine therapy? And he said, well, Preetham, my father is 70 years old and he has cancer. The doctor said that at this age, they can't do anything, not even chemotherapy. So I was looking at what I could do to help my father, and I came across your talk. And I must tell you, your talk won my heart. I did that TEDx talk in 2017. And I actually went back and listened to the talk again. And I must say that it was a pretty funny talk and very valuable. When I read through the comments, I found that all the audience that watched the talk found it extremely valuable. So today I want to talk about how you can do a TEDx talk that will win the hearts of people. So first thing, if you want to do a TEDx talk, is that you have to get selected to do a TEDx talk. So there are two ways it works. You can either be invited to do a TEDx talk, or you can apply yourself. Now, I did not want to wait around for somebody to invite me to do a TEDx talk because, I'm not a celebrity. Nobody knows about me. I decided to go ahead and apply myself and get myself out there. First things I did was apply to 5 talks and I got rejected from 3. So rejections are a part of life. Let's just be okay with it. And it's the same with TEDx talks. After getting rejected from 3, I got selected for 2 talks. I found TEDx to be one of the best platforms to put something valuable out there. I did not want to wait around for someone to find me out. I knew I wanted to add value to people's lives, and TEDx was the platform to do it. Now, when I was selected for the TEDx talk, I have 3 tips that I found that absolutely helped me win the hearts of people with those talks. The first one is own your story. Now you might go to YouTube or even come to Toastmasters and you might find lots of structures that a speech has to have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Those are all good things. Those are things that we need to make our message clear to the audience. And owning our story is taking it one step further. Owning our story means we share with our audience what we have done in our own lives. Those are not things that we have just read or seen other people do. Those are things we have read, seen other people do, and done ourselves. For my second TEDx talk on urine therapy, it involved me drinking my own urine. And you heard that right. I drank my own urine to do that talk. The reason I did that was I didn't want to come out as fake. How could I put on an authentic vibe in front of an audience if I didn't do the things I was talking about? So the second tip I have for you is add humor. Now, one thing that I must tell you that my life is not perfect. There are a lot of silly things I have done, and I hope you have done those too. And if you are okay with it, if you are okay with the silly things you have done, you would be okay with laughing at yourself. And if you can find things about your life that you can laugh at, your audience will find those things funny and they will laugh with you. That is an extremely important weapon in your arsenal as a speaker. Mark Twain said, against the assault of laughter, nothing can stand. And I found it true in everything I have done. In my first TEDx talk was about sitting. Now, in that talk, I talked about how people in India use squatting toilets to poop and do their biological duties. And I was talking to my mother, Ma, why don't we have sitting toilets like in the malls and hotels? Why do we still squat down to poop like ancient times? My mother heard me and said, well, son, if you want to do shit, you have to go down. That is something that had actually happened between my mother and me. And I found it very silly and I just shared that with the audience. The audience found it very funny and I was able to connect with them. The third tip that I have for you is get feedback. Well, TEDx talks are all about putting great ideas out into the world. And while we all have great ideas that sound great inside our own head, it might not sound good when we put it out into the world. So, the best way to find out what our ideas are and if they are able to connect with people is to get feedback from someone. And it could be anyone you get feedback from. It could be your partner, your mentor, your friend, anybody who's going to be genuine and honest with you and tell you, hey, this I don't understand. For me, it did not matter how many times I had to practice my talk as long as there was something to improve. I think for my TEDx talks, I practiced at least 30 to 40 times before I actually went up on stage and practiced my talk. The two TEDx talks that I have done have won the hearts of thousands of people. And last time I checked, there were about 300,000 views on those talks and more than 2,000 comments on them. I checked back with the guy that had called me a few months back about how his father was doing. And he told me that his father's condition has actually improved. A 70 years old man who was suffering from cancer, and his health improved after the doctors had given up on him. Just because I decided to do a talk, be someone who owns his story, add humor, and got feedback from my talk. So those are the three things I have for you. And I am absolutely sure that if you follow these three things and choose to apply or get invited to a TEDx talks, you will win hearts. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Pritam. Mr. Timer, can you give us 1 minute to give a feedback to Pritam? Thank you, Mr. Timer. Our last but not least speaker of the day will be Bhakti. Evaluating Bhakti will be Mami. So Mami, please, can you unmute yourself and tell us what are you gonna look for in Bhakti's speech?
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm in a restaurant traveling from Moab, Utah to Colorado. And we have a music in the background. I hope it's not disturbing the audience. Tonight, Bhakti is speaking on the pathway presentation mastery with her project to make an effective use of body language and gestures. So tonight I'll be looking for how Bhakti will be using the body language and the gestures to flavor her speech. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mami. As an answer to my question, what in your daily life makes you lose yourself? Bhakti said, for me, it has to be music. The right song at the right moment can make me forget whatever is going and just enjoy the rhythm. The title of Bhakti's speech is DB the Mystery. DB the Mystery, Bhakti.
The FBI has called this one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in FBI history. Now, that is quite a bold statement to make, and the one that has been killing me for years now. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guest. The man I'm going to speak about today is named DB Cooper. Have any of you ever heard about a DB Cooper? Well, I found out about him while watching an episode of Prison Break, which was a fictional show. So imagine my surprise when I found out that DB Cooper was a real deal. I read about him when I was in 8th or 9th grade, and I'm still reading about him. Cooper managed to pull out one of the greatest feats in criminal history, not just because of the crime, but the subsequent vanishing into thin air. So are you guys ready to listen about him? Now, it's a Wednesday, November 24th, 1971. A man named Dan Cooper took a $20 ticket from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington. The airline just assumed that Dan was one of the passengers who was going home for Thanksgiving because 25th happens to be Thanksgiving. But no. He was there to pull off one of the greatest heists in criminal history. Cooper was described as being in mid-40s, 5 feet 10 to 5 feet 11 feet in height, weighed 170 to 180 pounds, wore a business suit, had a black raincoat, had a black tie, white shirt, and brown shoes. He also carried a black briefcase and a paper bag. Before the plane took off, Cooper ordered a bourbon and soda and also lit up some smoke. After the plane took off, he handed a note to a flight attendant named Florence Schaffner. And the flight attendant just slid the note into her pocket. Now, this flight attendant was really beautiful, and she was used to getting notes from guys who would usually slip their phone number into these notes. But obviously, this time it was different. When Cooper saw that the flight attendant just slid the note into her pocket, he said, "Ma'am, you better have a look at that note. I have a bomb." She opened up the note and it read, "I have a bomb. Please sit next to me." Now she could tell that Cooper wasn't fooling around and did as he asked. He then proceeded to open his briefcase, which had some red colored sticks surrounded with an array of wires. He then asked her to write down whatever he was saying and hand the note to the captain. "I want $200,000 by 5 p.m. in cash, put in a knapsack. I want 2 front parachutes and 2 back parachutes. When we land, I want a fuel truck ready to refuel. No funny business or I'll do the job." Well, one of the strangest things that Cooper also asked was this $200,000 to be in $20 bills exclusively. He then proceeded to give her $20 for the drinks that he ordered, which actually cost only $2, and asked her to keep the change. Are you noticing a pattern here? The flight ticket cost $20. He paid $20 for the drink and asked the ransom to be in $20. Well, this clue leads to nowhere. Back to the story. The flight attendant proceeded to give that note to the captain, who alerted the air control traffic system, and the authorities were alerted. The flight was supposed to be a very short flight of about 30 minutes, but ended up lasting for 2 hours because the plane kept revolving around the air for no apparent reason. The passengers had no clue what was going on, and they were told that there was a mechanical issue with the plane. But in reality, this was authorities biding some time because they decided to meet Cooper's demand. When the plane landed, Cooper exchanged the 36 passenger on the plane for the money and parachute he requested. One point to be noted is that when the plane landed, Cooper asked that all the windows be lowered so that if the authorities tried to snipe him, they would fail. Genius. Cooper decided to keep some of the crew members on the plane and asked the pilot to fly to Mexico City. The pilot said that the flight to Mexico City will be a long one and the plane would have to stop somewhere to refuel. And Nevada was decided to do this. By 8 p.m., when the plane took off, Cooper jumped out of the rear door of the flight with the money and the parachute, never to be seen again. One thing to note is that while jumping out of the plane, Cooper took off his black clip-on tie, which was left in the plane, and the FBI has used this tie to procure a DNA sample, and it has been using this DNA sample to catch the culprit. The FBI started an investigation called NORJAC, which stands for Northwest Hijacking, and it lasted decades. The FBI also released the serial number of the $200,000 that was given in ransom money in the hopes of finding him. Well, 9 years later, a young boy found a rotten package which had $20 bills in it, which matched the serial number that the FBI had released. Now, this bag had $5,800,000 cash in it. But ultimately, this clue led to nowhere. It was theorized that when Cooper jumped out of the plane, one of the paper bags must have flown, which fell into a river and eventually washed up to the shore. Now, there are tons and tons of theory on who this DB Cooper is, or if he was able to pull one of the successful heists in history. But now I would like to focus on the theory put out by FBI agent Larry Carr. The Carr believes that DB Cooper did not survive that fall. Because Cooper decided to jump out of a plane, it was believed that he might be a paratrooper or someone who is very skilled when it comes to parachute. But Carr believed this is just not the case, because he thought that any experienced parachutist would not jump in pitch black night in rain with 200 miles per hour wind blowing in the face while wearing a trench coat and loafer. But this theory loses credence as a body was never found, not even the parachute found. The FBI searched all the areas where Cooper could have landed, and it was one of the biggest searches that FBI has conducted in history. And yet nothing, and I mean nothing, was ever found. But I believe that Cooper did survive the fall and managed to pull out one of the greatest heists in criminal history. But this does not stop relinquishing my curiosity on identifying who this mystery man was. Because some stones should never be left unturned, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Bhakti. Madam Timer, can we have 1 minute, please? Okay, thank you, Madam Timer. This puts an end to our first section of the meeting. And now let's dive into the second section of the meeting, the table topics. And this part will be handled by Xavier. I asked Xavier the same question that I asked the speakers. And Xavier's answer was music. He said music is the one thing that makes him lose himself, especially the song by Eminem, Lose Yourself. So, Mr. Table Topic Master, the lectern is yours.
Thank you, audience, and Alex here. Welcome to the table topics section where any old person can volunteer, put themselves in the limelight, and lose themselves in the moment to maybe win a prize. We have some functionaries that help out with the table topics section as well. I'm going to call on them, and we'll start with our timer, Kelly. Can you explain your role?
For this section of the meeting, table topics, you have 1 to 2 minutes, and I will show the green at 1 minute, the yellow at 1 minute and 30 seconds, and then the red at 2 minutes to indicate that you have 30 seconds to wrap up. Mr. Table Topic Master.
Thank you, Kelly. And our grammarian tonight, Ming Shuo, can you explain your role?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. I would be looking as who use a word of the day and who doesn't. And the word of the day is relinquish. It means voluntarily cease to keep or claim, give up. Example would be, he was forced to relinquish control of the company. Yeah, just make sure you use this day of the day. Yeah, word of the day. Yeah.
Thank you, Ming Shuo. So anybody can volunteer here, answer my question, and then as long as you use the word of the day and stay within the time, you will be eligible for a special surprise of a prize. Do I have a first taker for one of my questions? Oh, there it is, Hassan. Okay, Hassan. Pick a number 1 to 3.
2.
Number 2. Here's your question. Life gives us a lot of choices. Sometimes, though, we have to relinquish, that's the word, one choice to choose another. Robert Frost calls this the road not taken in his poem, The Road Not Taken. One of the roads for me would have been in middle school. I thought I was going to be a physical therapist for kids because I thought, what would the best job be besides playing with kids and helping them at the same time? And then I discovered robotics, and the rest is history. What is your road not taken, or one of your roads not taken, Hassan?
Thank you very much, Xavier. When I was younger, which means in elementary and even middle school, I had a passion for aviation. So my dream was to become pilot or engineer in aviation. And I remember I used to read a lot of books about that. I really liked the story of the aircraft in the beginning and even in the World War I, going to the World War II, etc., etc. And then when I came to high school and I realized that to go to this kind of school where I can become a pilot or engineer in aviation, I need to be really good in at math. And unfortunately, that was not my best topic in class, my best class. I was not really good at math. So finally, I had to relinquish And instead of becoming a pilot or working in aviation, I ended up in a school of economics, studied economics, and then I'm now at Rochester studying business administration. Well, I do need some math like in finance or accounting, but it's not the same like what people do in engineering schools. So if I were really good at math, if maybe if I have worked enough in in math, probably I would have become a pilot.
Thank you, Hassan. I think your dream of becoming a pilot could still be true. Who is up next? Gaurav. Choose a number, Gaurav, 1 or 3.
I would go with 3.
Number 3. Okay. Gaurav, here's your question. As humans, we tend to be control freaks. Sometimes we even try to control things that we know we can't control. I am going to share my screen because if anybody has ever done this before, seen a YouTube screen loading sign and tried to play and pause crazily, knowing that nothing was going to happen, or maybe checking your watch, waiting for a friend because somehow that's going to make them come faster. I'm guilty of both of these, by the way. We know that humans are control freaks. Tell us about one of your control freak tendencies, Gaurav.
Thank you, Xavier. There are many things which, of course, like I want to control in my life. Some of them like do not, you can say, as you said, cannot be controlled. And the YouTube, you can say, snippet which you had shown, same happened with me a couple of days ago when there was no internet, and I was trying to control it by connecting to other Wi-Fi, like my neighbors. I should not disclose that, but I was doing that, and I was then I was getting frustrated, but then I like relinquished on that. Like, that's it. I am not doing that. The other thing then led to me was the dinosaur which popped up on the browser, and I ended up playing for 20 minutes. So that was like a learning lesson for me, that do not, like, some things are not in your control, but there is some other things which you can focus your attention on. Over to you, Table Topic Master.
Who is third? Ming Shuo. Excellent. As you guys may or may not know, I made the theme of the day because of the song Lose Yourself from Eminem. So to quote him, look, if you had one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted, one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Ming Shuo, tell us about what that moment is for you and what you did with it.
The moments, I'm not very clear about your question. Can you repeat it?
To quote Eminem, look, if you had one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? What is your moment?
Oh, I understand. Actually, I don't think I have this moment in my life. But if I need to choose a moment in my memory, I think it would be the time when I got an offer from RIT. Because this is a best way for me to pursue my dream, and also I got support from my family, my girlfriend, my best friends, and all of guys around me. So I feel very happy, very happy. I was full of happiness, and also I think another meaning of this moment is I can get what I want through this way. And it's a very huge change to me because I changed my major from biological engineering to industrial design. I think it's a very good change to me. Yeah, for me, I relinquish some of my past, some of my a lot of things I disliked, but also I got what I really wanted. Yeah, I think so.
Kelly, how are we looking on time here?
We have time for one more.
One more. Who would like to go? Mommy. Oh. Mommy, I was saving this question just for you. There was a study done where we had two different groups. One was control freaks and the other were non-control freaks. I don't know how they gauged it, but they were able to tell. And what they did is they told these two groups to give an impromptu speech. And some people had a very friendly audience that actually clapped for them, and the other ones had people that booed for them. Everyone was happy that had people that clapped for him, but the control freaks absolutely went crazy when people booed for him because they thought the audience's response was in their control. But the people that aren't control freaks said, you know what? I'm giving what I'm giving, and they were fine. Tell us about a time where you had to relinquish your own control and you were happier because of it.
Thank you, Mr. Topic Master. I am an overuser of control. I always think that I should do things perfectly. I'm a process oriented person. Every time I want to make sure that I know where I'm going before I leave. But recently, I have read a book called Dance with Chance, Making Luck Work for You, in which it tells people how we have less control over things. And that has helped me recently then to relinquish control on many things. That's why even today, I'm asking the floor to speak now without even knowing or preparing for anything. Just jump in and relinquish control of what will happen. I know some of you will like it, some won't, but I just deliver what I have to deliver. And from it, I learn and keep on improving.
Boo. No, I'm just kidding. You did excellent, Mommy. How did everyone do for time, Kelly?
Everyone was within the right time limits. I accidentally forgot to get Hassan's time, I will admit, because I was too engrossed in his speech, but I'm sure he was 2 minutes and something under 30 seconds.
Sounds great. And Ming Shuo, everyone use the word of the day?
I think all of us use a word of day, but I'm not sure with Gorov. I think not.
Gaurav, do you recall?
I used it, but maybe my pronunciation was not that proper, so I accept it.
Oh, sorry.
No.
I heard it up. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it looks like everyone qualified. Chitra will work her magic to put up the poll, and I will pass it right on back to Destin.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. That were very interesting topics. Now let's move on our third section of the meeting, the evaluation part. And this part will be handled by Brandon. I asked Brandon the same question: what in your daily life makes you lose yourself? And he answered, music, with a smile. He said, often I listen to audiobooks or interviews at work, because if I listen to too much music, I'll be lost in it. Leading the evaluation part, Brandon.
Almost 10 years ago, I transferred schools and came to RIT. I went around the gym and looked at all the different clubs that you could join. And I thought, you know what, swing dancing sounds really strange. So let's go for it. And let me tell you, I was the best. I was the most amazing swing dancer that the 2011 fall RIT dancing group had ever seen. Until I got the feedback that I really wasn't that great of a dancer. I was having fun, I enjoyed myself, but I needed to learn a lot. And that is the essence of this time in our meeting, that if we don't ever get feedback on how we're doing, we may very well be enjoying ourselves and stepping on everybody's metaphorical feet. So during this time, we'll have each of the evaluators evaluate their respective speakers, and then we'll get some reports from the functionaries and finish with a little takeaway of my own. So first off, Kelly, could you remind us of the timing requirements for our evaluators tonight?
Yes, Mr. General Evaluator. We've got 2 to 3 minutes for our evaluators tonight, and I will show the green at 2 minutes, the yellow at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and the red at 3 minutes, and you'll have 30 seconds to wrap up. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Timer Kelly. I asked each of the evaluators, what is the best or most challenging advice you received in Toastmasters so far? So our first evaluator this night is Sridhar, evaluating Gaurav. His answer was the best and challenging advice that he received at Toastmasters was being sure to add a personal story to any topic that he was speaking on. I think that was evident in Preetam's advice to us earlier in an excellent TED Talk. So I look forward to hearing your TED Talk in the future, Sridhar. But right now, let's stick with the evaluation of Gaurav. Sridhar.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and Gaurav. Gaurav, thank you for presenting such a well-researched speech about screen time. So you started with a speech with a question, and which is a good way to capture audience attention, and that worked well in this. And then I observed that you followed this rule of 3, splitting your speech into 3 parts: effects, solutions, and your key findings. And the flow in your speech was pretty good. You started with the effects and how it affected you personally, and then providing a solution, and then And also you quoted articles of MIT and other articles where which make your research authentic. So that was pretty good. And I see that you your audience awareness was pretty good, and eye contact was pretty good throughout the speech too. And finally, you ended your speech by asking our audience to try the technique that you used in your key findings, and which is a good way to conclude your speech. So overall, my suggestion to improve the speech is to, I observed that for the whole speech, you spoke in the same tone, so you probably can add a more vocal variety to your speech, and add physical gestures that would help too. Especially one situation where I noted where you could have added is when your friend visited your room, you said, and you were looking at the ceiling or wall, and you could have added a gesture or a variety, local variety at that point. I feel that would make your speech more attractive. And so to overall, you excelled at presenting your well-researched speech, which was the objective of this project. And my suggestion is to add more vocal variety and adding more physical gestures. Over to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Sridhar, and glad to hear the demolition is going well. Moving on to our next evaluator, we have Chitra evaluating Preetam's speech. Chitra's response was simply, don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I loved this next part. The part that resonated with her is experimentation will lead you to better results. It was a wonderful way to put it. Please help me welcome Chitra in her evaluation of Preetam's speech.
Hello, everybody, especially Preetam. What a wonderful way to portray a story. I have many things to learn from you. You had shown how vulnerable you are when laughing at your own life and portraying that it's okay to show vulnerability in a story when you're portraying it to a large audience, even at TEDx. You paused at many places to let the audience observe the message and let everything settle down, make the message more clear. I really liked it, and I'm looking forward to learning that from you more. Your story was more genuine, and the flow of the story was more natural, and the way you said you wanted to be more authentic showed throughout the story, and you had an authentic flow throughout it. If I had to give you some suggestion on the speech, I would say, like, you had spoken about the son who wanted to take care of his father, your mom. You can add in their voice. Like, we do not have any idea how they sound, but maybe when he spoke to you at the first time, making him sound a little sad and wanted to know more how he can help his dad out. That would have added more emotion to the story rather than you just portraying, saying that he wanted to look something for his dad. And same way your mom, when she said funnily, she started saying that you could have had a funny tone for her, as well as adding that where when you have to shit, you have to go down and stuff. And you started off saying the story, saying that someone reached me on LinkedIn. You can say a lady from Russia or a son from another part of the world, giving them an identity rather than saying it was someone. And for your third part of your speech, where you talk about feedback, you said you had practiced 30 to 40 times. And how did it help you? What you improved from your first trial to your 40th trial is what I would want to hear. Why would you try 40 times? What was your improvement in that? And maybe somebody had suggested you one thing, and giving an example over that and adding a vocal variety over there of a third voice would have added more flavor to the speech. Other than that, I really like how you flow through it. And do not worry when you see the yellow card. You don't have to be nervous. And I think that's what you want to talk about, more about the feedback. And you saw the yellow card and you try to wrap up. Never be worried about the yellow card. Always your story is important, and here we are to listen your story. So yeah, your vulnerability is showing through your story. It's making it more genuine and authentic. And looking forward to hearing more from you. Thank you, Pritham.
Thank you, Chitra. And now we move on to the evaluation of our aspiring criminal, Bhakti, by our very own Mommy. Mommy's answer to this question was the best advice he ever received was to practice your speech, get some feedback, improve it, and then practice, practice, practice. I'm looking forward to hearing Mommy give some feedback to Bhakti in her speech tonight so she can go home and practice, practice, practice. Mommy.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Bhakti. Thank you very much for your tonight's speech, which was a nice storytelling speech. You took us through a storytelling with every step clearly determined and with transitions clearly explained. The first thing that was really striking were the two background images you were between, one on your right and the other one on your left. And I was looking for you. I was trying to find you. So that attracts the audience to look for the speaker because your aim in this speech was to use effective body language and gestures for people to be more attracted beyond words. The visuals are very important to display or show messages and get the audience more attracted. You use a lot of hand gestures to display and show some of the actions. And you were stepping forward and backward, though you don't have enough space because of the limitation of the technology. But you always try to move from one spot to another one. I'm pretty sure if you were in a room where we could see you, you would really move from different spots and give more tenure to your more texture to your speech. If I could suggest some areas of improvement, since the objective is the body language and the gestures, is the blinking eye that we all have when we are speaking. If you could look at someone at a screen and at least have some seconds, 5 to 10 seconds, without blinking your eyes, that would be very, very effective. And show some actions also through gestures, like opening the briefcase, for instance. You can make a gesture to show that yeah, we were opening the briefcase, or the flight the flight was taking off, something like this. So a clear gesture that indicates the action. Even if someone is not hearing you, from the gesture you are displaying, they will exactly know what action you're talking about. Because you have some echoes today while you were speaking. I don't know if it was the same thing for everyone, but gestures like that would indicate the action you're talking about. Overall, you had a very nice speech with a lot of gestures that can be improved in specifying some of the actions through gestures. Over to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mommy. Don't forget to mute in your noisy restaurant. Now we move on to the functionary reports. Pretty simply, I'll twist the computer over and ask for the lovely accounter's report for this evening. Sarah.
Thank you, Husband General Evaluator. Overall, I personally feel as though we did quite well with using a fair amount of filler words. Tricked you there. I will say that for prepared speeches, our speakers did a very good job tonight. Gaurav, I want to single you out specifically because you are a notorious filler word user at this point. And for your table topic, you sunk a boat with filler words. However, for your prepared speech, you had very few filler words. And I think this reinforces everything we talked about in evaluations, that practice and confidence in what you're saying reduces filler words. So follow Gaurav's example, practice your speeches, get feedback on them, gain confidence in your message and in how you're presenting it, and your filler words will evaporate just like Gaurav's screen time and his filler words. Other folks did a wonderful job. Ming Shuo, you had a few in there. Hassan, your table topic was wrought with filler words, a lot of Chitra, your evaluation had a few. However, once again, I think we should just highlight Gaurav's improvement. Back to you, husband general evaluator.
Thank you, Sarah. Moving on to our timer, Kelly. How did we do with the speeches and evaluations this evening?
Clapping for myself. Everyone did very well with timing tonight. I will apologize if there was a little mix-up because Matt really wanted to see his mentees speak. He did the timing for Gaurav and Preetham, and Gaurav was 5:22, Preetham was 7:05, and I jumped back in for Bhakti and she was 8:19. So those were all correct times for their time frames that they wanted to be in. All our table topic speakers and evaluators were also within the time range. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Madam Timer, for keeping that report nice and timely and concise. And finally, let's have Ming Shuo and his grammarian report for this evening. Ming Shuo.
Thanks, Mr. General Evaluator. For our prepared speeches, sorry, I lost my internet connection during Gaurav's speech, so sorry about that. And for Preeta's speech, he used a metaphor. He compared humor to a weapon, and I think it is a powerful weapon. And for Bhakti's speech, she also used a beautiful metaphor. She said, stones should never be left unturned. I think it's beautiful. For any bad use of language, I haven't found any. I think all of your words just sound great, perfect. And for the day of the for the word of the today, for all the word of the day, everyone use a word of the day. Back to you. And also, I want to apologize for my mistakes and hope I can make progress next time.
Believe it or not, Ming Shuo, you are making progress right now by doing this role. And it's a shame your internet connection went out because Gaurav used the word of the day like 27 times. Not really. My only feedback, 2 points of feedback. I love the energy that Tigertales brings. I was expecting more people to jump all over the table topics. So even though that's frightening, feel free. I like the multiple people jumping up out of their seats ready for table topics that Tigertales has historically offered. And then the only other one is just a reminder for love notes, to just in case somebody needs that extra little push to have some feedback or give feedback at the end of someone's speech. Let's just drop those reminders for love notes, because that feedback from more than just the evaluator is very much appreciated and helpful. That is it. Passing it back to Dustin.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. And now I'd like to present the winner of the table topics. So please, you guys unmute yourselves. Make a drum roll, Mr. or Madam Clapmaster. Drum roll. The winner of the table topics is Hassan. Congratulations, Hassan. Now you can receive my imaginary gift. So now it is time to call for our president. President Hassan.
Thank you very much, Justin, for being the Toastmaster of the day today. You really did a good job. Thank you all. We have really amazing speeches today. I learned a lot about the screen time, something I didn't know, and also the tips about TED Talks. And we had a third speech about the mystery of DB Cooper. It was really interesting. We also have a really great table topics. I'm the winner, so it was great. So before we end, I would like to remind again that we still can pay the dues for to renew membership. It's still possible to do that because we need to renew membership in order to be active Toastmaster and have our certificates and everything related to Toastmaster actually. Thank you all for this amazing meeting. I look forward to seeing all of you next week. The meeting is adjourned.